A librarian's quest for revenge. Being a librarian has never been my dream job, although I was an avid reader since I was a child. I wanted to start my own bookshop and not be stuck answering queries behind a desk all day long. My current work has becoming monotonous day by day, so when Jacob Barkley walked in a few months ago and lightened this place up, I was overjoyed. He was a few years younger than me with tan skin and light hazel eyes that were captivating. He was a jaw-dropper from the start, and boy did I try my best to keep my cool when I was around him. I was indeed married, but his effect was too strong. Try as I may to keep my distance, my defenses crumbled when he neared me. Shortly after he commenced working in the library, I was putting some books back in the children's section when I met his bright eyes. He was on the aisle next to where I was, and our eyes met in the gap between some books. It was a cheesy moment, but my heart stopped. He was already staring at me when I met his eye. I could not help but feel that there was some sexual tension hanging in the air. "Hey," I stuttered, "what's up?" That was my poor attempt at playing it cool because clearly I was nervous around this magnetic force of a man. As usual, he played the role of charming lad, and I was positive that I turned as red as a tomato, instantaneously. "Hey Kenny," he winked. "All good? I'm just looking for a book which, according to the system, just returned a few minutes ago. Mind if I come over?" My heart started thumping in my chest. I was avoiding being in close proximity with this man at all costs. It was bad enough that I got nervous at the sight of him, but it was even worse that he was next to me. My hands would get clammy and I would get conscious of every action I made. Why was this happening? For goodness sake, I was married. I should not be even looking at this man. I was married and straight. That was my mantra since he walked into those library doors and took me by storm. "Sure," I replied, "anyways." "Oh, there you are, the little prince," he exclaimed as he pointed the book I was currently holding. It happened to be the very book he was searching for. I was prepared to hand it over to him when he put his hand over mine. My eyes shut up immediately. That first contact felt electric and awakened something in me. Our eyes met for a few seconds before I let go and took a step back. "I better get going," I excused myself, although I knew damn well I was not done with my task at that section of the library yet. Since then I have been desperately avoiding Jacob because whenever he was around my body was out of control. I was reacting in ways I did not even want to react. Although my marriage with Kate was rocky, I did not want to act on my feelings and reaction towards Jacob. On the flip side, he seemed to be inching closer towards me day by day. He would always find some excuse to wander near my desk, and he would lounge around and talk to my deskmate, Mrs. Gloria. Of course, Miss Gloria would be all giggly and would entertain him until she had to attend to some other matters. Once she was gone, he would linger around and engage me in a conversation instead. "What did a guy like you end up here?" he said inquisitively one time. I raised my eyebrows. "A guy like me? What do you mean?" I questioned back, not meeting his eyes and pretending to be busy on my computer. I felt his heat as he took Miss Gloria's now empty seat and scooted closer to me. "Young, full of life, intelligent," he replied. "Handsome?" I gawked. "Handsome? Look, sweetie, quit flirting with me. I'm married, remember?" He moved even closer, so close that I could hear his breathing and my chest thumping. "Your body language around me says otherwise. Don't think I noticed your hands getting all clammy, drops of sweat building up, you getting fidgety in general. For all I know, you could be hiding a boner there whenever I get close to you," he teased. I could not believe what I was hearing. Surely Jacob's uniform was a leather jacket and an all-black ensemble that radiated major bad boy vibes. But never would I have thought that it could be this much of a tease. I never even imagined that he had this much audacity. "You're crazy," I said, unfortunately. I was so caught off guard that I knew my voice was hoarse. It was a dead giveaway that he had such a big effect on me. "Cat got your tongue?" he winked. "I gotta get back to work, but next time you kiss your wife, try not to think of me, yeah?" A few days later, the sexual tension between us continued to build. Whenever he would walk past me, he would subtly touch me, and that momentary contact would haunt me for the rest of the day. We did not exchange many words, but quite frankly, we did not need to. The subtle touches and the climaxing tension spoke for themselves. I tried to think of his words the other day about me thinking of him while I kissed my wife, and then I remembered Kate and I were no longer that intimate. I could not remember the last time our lips connected, let alone the last time we were in bed together. My thought wandered off to Jacob as I subtly watched him returning books on a nearby shelf. I swear I was focusing on the paperwork in front of me, or at least attempting to. He was much too distracting, especially after he took off his signature jacket, and was left wearing a tight-fitting black shirt that hugged his body. The shirt did not leave much to the imagination, as it displayed his toned body. How was this man real? He looked straight out of a magazine. He looked like a modern-day Greek god. My train of thought was rudely interrupted by Kate. She was frowning as she tried to get my attention. Done drooling over some hot woman you're looking at there? Is this why you love working so much? She started. False, false. Firstly, it was a man who caught my attention. Secondly, work became my sanctuary, as whenever I was home, all she did was nag at me and ask me for even more money, although she was being paid more generously than me. Hey, what are you doing here? I asked. She rolled over her eyes and went straight to the point. Just wanted to drop the keys because I got a spontaneous invitation for work out of town, she replied. And also to remind you that my credit card bill is due in a few days. Pay up. Inside, I was seething. This woman did nothing but treat me like her personal ATM. Clearly, our marriage had turned loveless. But it was one thing to be falling out of love, but still trying to make it work, and it was another thing to remain in the marriage for personal gains. I was the former, she was the latter. Still, I nodded and uttered her desired response just so that we could not catch a scene in my workplace. Alright, be safe, have fun, I replied as she was out the door. I watched as she walked away and felt someone approaching me as soon as she was out of sight. Damn, you let your wife kick you around like you're her little puppy. Come on, man, commented Jacob. Don't let her talk to you down like that. I sighed and looked at him. Surprisingly, he did not look at me like I was some man to pity. He looked at me as though he genuinely thought I deserved better. I appreciated that. Thanks, Jake, I answered. Appreciate your concern. He tapped me on the shoulder at first. I did not respond to his gesture, but something in me propelled me to hug him tight. He hugged back and no other words were exchanged between us. But sometimes, it was better off that way. His actions were enough to tell me what I wanted and needed to hear. I was not alone. You would never believe who I saw today, Jacob announced out of the blue a few days later. Your wife home yet? I shook my head and looked back at him, startled by his sudden appearance. I thought you were visiting your grandma in another city. Yeah, smartass, I'm back now. But look, he whipped out his phone and showed me a picture of a familiar silhouette. It was Kate in a train station, wrapped in the arms of a blond man clad in a neat suit. They were very cozy. He then switched to another page, this time showing a video of the same couple. Kate was showering this unknown man with kisses, and he was comfortable resting his hands around her. She's not home because she's not even working out of town. Your wife Kate, she's cheating on you. I know this might sound bad coming from me, like you probably think I'm just sabotaging your marriage for my personal gains, but I really am not. Fuck. I should have seen this coming. How could it be so stupid? I initially said. But no, Kate can't possibly do this. We're still married. Regardless of how rocky our dynamic has been, she won't do this. She can't possibly do this. After all I've done for her, she can't. Jacob, that's not her. Frustration was etched all over his face, likely in disbelief that I could be so stupid, even though the evidence was staring right at me. Wake up, Kenny. She doesn't want you anymore. She lets you stay home in a job so monotonous while she lives her best life. You're really ignoring the signs that are right in front of you? Jacob replied, clearly seething. The library hours were over and I was the only staff remaining, alongside the security guard in front of the building, so I was not conscious of eavesdroppers. You're just saying that to ruin my marriage, I whispered, although I knew I had been defeated. Fuck, for someone so smart, you really are an idiot in love, are you not? She doesn't want you anymore. You deserve better. Don't let her stomp around like a fool. You deserve better, he emphasized, evidently trying his best not to rage. I deserve better, huh? Like who? I knew, knowing full well the answer coming, my heart was racing, but it was now or never. It was my shot at happiness, the happiness that Kate had fulfilled on her own, disregarding the sanctity of our marriage. Jacob gazed intensely at me, and I knew then that it was a now or never moment for him too. Me, he confessed. From the moment we met, you fascinated me. I admired you from afar, and I was amazed that never once did you fall prey to my advances. I admired the fact that you kept trying with your wife, even though it was evidently a one-sided relationship. You remained faithful, although I could see that you were fighting your urges. I raised my eyebrow. He was right, of course. I could stand here and deny his words, but I knew he was right. However, I was not going to back down so easily. How do you know that? Are you just assuming and hoping that I'd reciprocate your confession? He took my hands in his, forcing me to look straight into his cerulean eyes. Of course. I want you to choose me, as I have chosen you ever since the day we met. Although I knew it was a long shot. But most importantly, I said that because you have lived years and years trying to please Kate. This time around, I want you to choose yourself, and a part of me is hoping that I'll be a part of that new route for you. That was all he needed to say before I grabbed him by the shoulder and slammed him on a nearby shelf and kissed him with all the force I could muster. I have never felt a kiss so intense. Not on my very first kiss, not even with Kate on our wedding day, not even the night I lost my virginity. This was intense on so many levels, and it remained as such for a while, with us just ravaging each other like wild animals who have been deprived for so long. Part of me was scared of being found by another staff, but there was something exciting about partaking in such an illicit and wild act. The next day, both Jacob and I came to work a little later than usual, clearly exhausted from the previous night's rendezvous. No matter how exhausted we were, we could not help but grin once we caught sight of one another. I was delirious at work that day despite running on pure adrenaline. Is this what Jacob meant when he said choose myself? Because if it was, I could do this every day. Have a good night, Kay? Asked Jacob slyly when he visited my desk later that afternoon. I sure did. I got a good workout in, I winked. He laughed before walking away. Now he was on the receiving end of the antics. He used to tease me all the time, and now I was the one reversing the card. I got up from my desk and followed him towards the shelf for some privacy. I did not exactly want Miss Gloria to overhear our vulgarities. What are you following me for, huh? Want another workout in? He teased as I positioned myself behind him. I did not know where I was donning my boldness from, especially with more people present in the library at the moment than last night's wild adventures. As for later, I teased right back. I just want to tell you, I'm walking away. Kate comes back tonight and I'm telling her I want out. I don't know what our plans are and if I have a space in your life, honestly. My brain's so foggy right now. Forgive me. I'm just too nervous. Jacob smiled softly and leaned against me. It's fine. What I meant to say is, after tonight, if you want me, then I'm all yours. He softly caressed my face and placed a gentle kiss on my lips. Of course I want you, silly. It's already a given, and I've just been waiting for you to be ready, he replied nonchalantly. But what I don't want is you walking away from that bitch so easily. What do you mean? We need an ultimate revenge plot, he smiled wickedly. Jacob did live up to his bad boy aura because boy did he have a lot of wicked ideas on how he can exact revenge on my soon-to-be ex-wife, Kate. Amidst his most plentiful suggestions that afternoon, the one he was most bent on making me do is spending money on myself. There is no better revenge than being the best version of yourself, Kenny. She has taken away far too much from you. Show her that gem that she missed and how that gem now belongs to me, he said, as we walked down a luxurious shopping lane after work. We had finished going to the gym to sign up for a membership, something I've been contemplating for a while, as I wanted to shape up for myself, but I could never get myself to do it. What held me back was the bills we had at home and Kate's bad shopping habits that she made me pay for. I never had much money left for myself. This would look amazing on you, exclaimed Jacob as he picked up another top for me. I grinned, liking the clothes he was throwing on me. This was a foreign feeling for me. He was the one picking up stuff for me and even offered to pay for my shopping spree. Usually, I was the one who was paying for Kate's stuff. You're spoiling me, I said. You deserve it, love, he replied and touched our noses together. As we were doing more shopping, my phone rang. It was Kate. I expected her to be back tonight, so I knew I would get a mouthful as soon as she saw my purchases. Kennedy, I am shopping right now and my card is rejected. I thought I told you to pay my bills, she ranted, and it was clear she was keeping her anger at bay. She was probably attempting to save face after her card got rejected and she was not able to pay for her shopping. Oh, I must have forgotten, I said as I pulled a call on the loudspeaker so Jacob could hear. Maybe try paying your own bills next time, since you have your own money anyways. Just a suggestion. You son of a bitch. Wait until I get home, she threatened. Get home from your vacation with your lover? Oh, don't deny, Caitlin. Don't make me look like a fool here. I know about your lies and your deceit. While we're at it, don't call the house your home anymore. May I remind you that the home is mine? You can start moving out. Fuck you, useless piece of shit. Don't accuse me of shit. I'll see you at home and you better get ready, she whispered with much anger. She was probably out shopping with her lover, too. Jacob shook his head aggressively as soon as the call ended. He was clearly mad at the slurs thrown at me left and right. That bitch needs to learn a lesson, he commented. She will, one day, I affirmed. In an unexpected twist of fate, it seemed as though Kate's day had come that very night. As Jacob and I were wandering the streets, ready to head home and face her, we stumbled across her. She was in the arms of that same man that she was pictured with earlier that week. Upon close inspection, I realized that it was her boss. She had never introduced us, but I saw him in her photos at company outings. It's not the spawn of Satan herself, said Jacob softly as soon as he spotted her. I could not believe my eyes, and it seemed like neither could Kate. She attempted to untangle herself from the man, as though distance between them could undo the damage she had done. She was caught in the act, and it seemed for the first time in her life she was at the losing end. How dare you parade with your lover while you scream at me to pay your credit card bills, with your boss nonetheless? How unprofessional are you? I confronted her. She wanted to defend herself, but was stuttering so badly. Me? Lover? Asked the tall man. Who the hell are you? Jacob's eyes lit up as the man questioned us. I see how it is, so this poor man doesn't know that he's the third party in a marriage. Interesting, replied Jacob. By the way, meet Kenny, Kate's husband. You crazy fucks, stop with the lies, Kate attempted to deny. I suppose, as she was already caught in the act by me, she wanted damage control on her relationship with her boss. That's right, this woman has not only lied to me, her husband, but she has also deceived you. She's probably using you for personal gains, just like how she did to me throughout our marriage. If I were you, I would be very careful, I warned. We're through. How could you lie to me and make me a part of this mess? My reputation is on the line. You unknowingly made me a third party, you crazy bitch, said Kate's lover. Don't call me and don't even bother taking your stuff from the office. You're fired, and we'll send your shit to your address. Goodbye, Kate. Bingo, she was out of her job. Her lover left her. Revenge is truly sweet. Goodbye too, Kate. You can move your shit out of my house too. I'm done with your abuse, both verbally and mentally. I've endured too much, and I've received so little in return. We're done, and I'll be filing for divorce. I followed up. Oh, and before I go, meet my boyfriend and the love of my life, Jacob Barkley. With that, Jacob and I walked away, hand in hand, as the peripheral view of an extremely miserable Kate eventually faded. What goes around truly comes around. This time, thankfully, I got the last laugh. Her boss? Who could have imagined, said Jacob later that night, as we dined in a fancy restaurant. He decided to treat me in his favorite Italian bistro, which I was very grateful for. Workplace romance, I tisked. Sounds familiar. Workplace romance, he repeated. It never works. I knew he was joking based on the sly look on his eyes and teasing tone, so I reached under the table and grabbed his crotch to tease him right back. I knew my touch would make him go crazy, and there was nothing better than seeing him flustered in a room full of people. It never works, huh? I said, teasingly. Okay, fine, he surrendered. It works sometimes. Months later, Jacob and I managed to save up sufficient funds to finally quit our library job and start our very own independent bookshop. It was a little stall downtown, and we earned a significant amount from our loyal and continuously growing customers. I had not spoken to Kate since I threw her out of my home, but I heard from mutual friends that she struggled to find another job, since her ex-lover, who was also her boss, was an extremely powerful man, who basically spread her deceitful ways and ruined her name in the corporate world in our town. Finding a job was impossible after that. I did not pity her one bit. She caused her own downfall. One fine day, the bell in our bookshop rang, signaling the entrance of a customer. I was arranging some new arrivals on the shelf, so I did not take notice of the face of the newcomer. However, Jacob was on cashier duty, and he listened as this woman begged for a job. Please, kind sir, I know this bookshop of yours is new, and I am desperate for a job. I'm experienced in admin work, and I have worked in offices before. Please give me a chance so I can pay my bills. The familiar voice begged. I only needed to look at the stranger's silhouette to recognize her. It was Kate. She was in mine and Jacob's bookshop in search for a job. Pay your bills? I repeated. She turned around and her pupils dilated at the sight of me. She did not know I owned the shop and was taken aback by this realization. Kenny, please, wow. You have your own business now and you're thriving? I'm your ex-wife. Do all those years mean nothing to you? Please, I need a job. I need to pay my bills, she implored. I stood firm to the ground and glared at her. I've paid your bills long enough. I've neglected myself so you could support your shopping habits. I put you before myself and you cheated on me. And now you've come knocking back to work for me so you could pay your bills? I sassed. No, I've paid your bills long enough already. I won't do that anymore by hiring you. Get out. The end. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force and stay wholesome.